6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dilini Gunawardena, assisted by Sanjaya, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The monthly salaries of the non-executive public sector employees will be paid on the 25th of January. The Census and Statistics Department states headline inflation of the country based on the National Consumer Price Index has decreased. A meeting of the Constitutional Council is to be held on next Wednesday. The electricity generation activities at the Kalanithisa power station resumes. Foreign news, Germany says it won't block export of its Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Sports cricket, Wanidu Hasaranga and Inoka Ranavira named in ICC's T20 Teams of the Year. News in detail. State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya has issued a special announcement regarding the salary payment of the public sector employees for the month of January. Accordingly, the monthly salaries of the non-executive public sector employees will be paid on the 25th of January. Meanwhile, the executive-level public sector employees will receive their monthly salary on the 25th or the 26th of January. At its meeting held last week, the Cabinet of Ministers green-lighted a proposal to pay the monthly salaries of the non-executive government employees on the stipulated date and to delay the payment of salaries of the executive-level employees by a few days. President Ranil Wickremesinghe had tabled the proposal in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policy. The government, explaining that new proposals to boost the state revenue for the year 2023 are being implemented, noted that the state expenditure need to be managed properly over the next few months starting from January. Headline inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index has decreased to 59.2% in December 2022 compared to 65.0% in November 2022, according to Sri Lanka's Census and Statistics Department. Food inflation has also decreased to 59.3% in December 2022 compared to 69.8% in November 2022. Issuing the National Consumer Price Index for the month of December 2022, the Acting Director General of Census and Statistics said that the headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change based on the NCPI has been compiled as 59.2%. The headline inflation reported for the month of November 2022 was 65.0%. Chief of Staff and Deputy General Secretary of the Parliament, Mrs. Kushani Rohanadira, said a meeting of the Constitutional Council will be held next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Meanwhile, the President had appointed non-members of Parliament as members of the Constitutional Council based on the nominations submitted by the Speaker with the agreement of the Speaker, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in Parliament. Accordingly, Dr. Pratap Ramanujam, Dr. Mrs. Dilukshi Vijayasundara and Dr. Mrs. Dinesha Samratna have been appointed. Dr. Raman, a member of the Public Service Commission and has served as the Secretary to the several ministries over a decade. Dr. Mrs. Vijayasundara is a doctor by profession and Dr. Mrs. Samratna is a law academic and works as a senior lecturer of the University of Colombo. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The electricity generation activities at the Kalanithisa power station have resumed just days after it was shut down due to a shortage of naphtha. A spokesperson for the station stated that plant generation activities had started once again at 8 a.m. today. Due to the lack of sufficient naphtha stocks, the generation activities of the Kalanithisa power station had been suspended since last Saturday midnight. However, the spokesperson said that even if the power generation activities are carried out again with the existing naphtha at the Kalanithisa power station, it will only be sufficient for another day and a half. The Ceylon Electricity Board stated that the refusal to provide naphtha due to non-payment of money to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation by the Electricity Board has caused this situation. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri PC is scheduled to make an official visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from 23rd to the 27th of January 2023. The visit will take place on the invitation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom, Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. The minister is scheduled to meet with Foreign Minister Farhan Al Saud and discuss further enhancement of the cordial bilateral relations. The minister will also meet with the senior officials of the Islamic Development Bank, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and the governors of Mecca and Medina. The Education Minister says that printing 45% of the school textbooks for the new school term of the 2023 has been assigned to the State Printing Corporation. Cabinet approval has been granted to assign printing of the rest to 22 qualified private printing presses. The State Printing Corporation has already received the first stock of papers obtained from the Indian Credit Line. The textbooks already printed by the private printing presses have been handed over to the Ministry of Education. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Advanced Level Examination 2022 commenced today in 2,200 examination centres across the island. The police said 1,625 policemen have been deployed for security duties for the Advanced Level Examination. The police security is provided to examination coordination, regional and central collection centres, question paper evaluation centres and transportation of other confidential documents. In addition, police headquarters have instructed officers to provide adequate security through mobile patrolling by the police stations across the country on the days of the examination. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
In Watchlight this evening, the Department of Railways says that the train services on the coastal line have been restored. The train service were interrupted this morning as the Samudradevi train travelling from Galle to Colombo Fort derailed near the Kalutara railway station. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
In the headlines, Germany says it won't block export of its Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Major cities in Pakistan are without electricity after grid breakdown. And Canada is to pay more than $2 billion to hundreds of indigenous communities to settle a lawsuit. Germany's Foreign Minister Anna Baerbock has said she would not stand in the way of Poland if they were to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Ukraine has called on the West to provide the German-made tanks, which they say will help them defeat Russia. But Germany is set to provide the armoured vehicles, and its export laws prevent other countries from sending theirs. Pakistan suffered a huge power cut early today following a breakdown in its national grid, leaving millions of people without electricity. Power was out in all the country's major centres, including the biggest city Karachi, the capital Islamabad, as well as Lahore and Peshawar. Pakistan Power Minister said the grid failure followed a frequency variation in southern Pakistan. He insisted this was not a major crisis and power would be back soon. Canada government has announced it will pay more than $2 billion to hundreds of indigenous communities to settle a lawsuit seeking compensation for the loss of language and culture caused by residential schools. The class action lawsuit by 325 indigenous groups ended with the settlement of $2.8 billion Canadian dollars, which will be placed in a trust fund independent of the government. Back to the headlines of the world news. Germany says it won't block export of its Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Major cities in Pakistan are without electricity after grid breakdown. And Canada is to pay more $1 billion to hundreds of indigenous communities to settle a lawsuit. And that ends World News.
Development News.
marking a significant milestone in its path towards developing the human resource management profession in Sri Lanka and settling high professional standards in HR management, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, signed a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Human Resource Management, Faculty of Management Studies, Rajarata University last week. Addressing the ceremony, Vice-Chancellor of the University, Professor G.A.S. Ginigadra, emphasized the importance of collaboration between academics and professionals of the country for the benefit of students, HR professionals, and the managerial community of the country. And that was Development News.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Sri Lanka's Wanidu Hasranga and Inoka Ranavira have been listed in the ICC Men's T20I Team of the Year 2022 and ICC Women's T20I Team of the Year 2022, respectively. Wanidu Hasranga continued to be Sri Lanka's talisman in a year where they reigned supreme as the champions of the Asia Cup, and he picked up 9 crucial wickets in 6 games at the Asia Cup, but at the same time showed that he can do the damage with the bat, stroking a brilliant 27-ball 37 in the final against Pakistan to rescue his side. The wrist spinner weaved his magic at the T20 World Cup as well, picking up 15 wickets in 8 games. Sri Lanka's left-arm orthodox spinner Inoka Ranavira had a spectacular year with the ball finishing with 27 wickets in 19 T20Is while averaging 13.85 with the ball and conceding runs at an economy of 5.75. And that came to you in Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu weena habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekata menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, recognizing one of DFCC Bank's most effective social media marketing campaigns, which also resonated well with their customers as the content was based on a customer real-life experience with the bank, DFCC Bank won the Gold Award for the Best Social Media Content at the 11th ACEF Asian Leaders Awards, competing against countries in South Asia. DFCC Bank received this award for the unique digital media marketing it launched coinciding with Customer Service Week. The campaign strategically centered around a short film released on YouTube and Facebook. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu weena habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekata menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, the Minister of Culture and Tourism of China announced on 20th of January 2023 that Sri Lanka will be included among the countries in its outbound tourism pilot program, which will commence on the 6th of February 2023. The Sri Lanka Embassy in Beijing said only a limited number of countries have been included in this list, and this listing is a reflection of the close bonds between the two countries. The embassy has consistently made representations to have Sri Lanka included in such a list and is continuing its multifaceted efforts to promote Sri Lanka tourism. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the eastern, Nuwa and north central provinces and in the Hambantota district. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters are likely at some places. Showers or thunder showers may occur at several places elsewhere over the island during the afternoon or night. And that was the weather report. And before we conclude this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The monthly salaries of the non-executive public sector employees will be paid on the 25th of January. The Census and Statistics Department states headline inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index has decreased. A meeting of the Constitutional Council is to be held next Wednesday. The electricity generation activities in the Kalditissa power station resumes. Foreign news, Germany says it won't block export of its Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Sports cricket, Wanindu Hasaranga and Inoka Ranavira named in ICC's T20 Teams of the Year. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.